Hey gang, Carl White here. I will be your host here for the next, little bit. And you are listening to Loan Officer Freedom, #1 podcast in the world today for loan officers, judged on awesomeness and coolness. So I'm sitting here with one of our Freedom Club members, Mr. DJ Fuchs himself. I know everybody's been waiting to hear this episode. It's been in the paper. It's been on the internet. It's been on the radio. DJ, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Carl. Honored to be here with you. Been listening for the last couple of years since I got into the business, and I can't tell you, I never thought it was going to happen this quick, but I did envision one day being able to talk to you like this.
Well, this is awesome, and so all right, so DJ has just been having some pretty good success here. And in a kind of a ramping up in a short period of time, is my understanding.
Yes, sir.
And during a market where a lot of loan officers aren't, and we're going to kind of dive into like how you doing it. So bring us all up to speed here first, though, DJ. So you banker, broker, where you located? Kind of give us a little bit of a branch manager, loan officer. Give us a little bit of the lay of the land.
Yeah, so a loan officer with Supreme Lending out of our Southeast division of the company, headquartered in the Atlanta market. I do most of my work North Atlanta, Alpharetta area. That's where I live. Been doing it now for, I guess I started production last April officially. Got into the role in January, but because of some licensing stuff in Georgia that was going on, officially kicked things off in April of 2022.
Wow, so you're kind of wet behind the ears, as we say it down here in the South.
That is correct. Yeah, very wet.
So you're just getting started. Now I understand last year, again, your first year, and it sounds like you only had, give or take, about half the year.
Yeah.
That you closed somewhere around 12 million last year. Is that right?
That's correct. So we, the first 4 months, I was referring everything to my sales manager, or first 3 months, I should say. So January, February, March. But honestly, I was doing the activity. I'd been listening to your podcast. I started in a quasi processing role in 21. Started listening to your podcast then, and really did start implementing some stuff right out of the gates, especially the agent outreach part. In January, February, March, as I was kind of ramping up, kicking things off in April. So yeah, from counting, like, call it $1.5 million that I referred in January, February, March, and then what I did from April until December, I did about $12.5 million.
Man, that's a pretty good first year, buddy.
I was happy with that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and again, that's a year. That's the same year that caused many loan officers not to renew their license this year, which, man, I still don't get that part, right? I just don't get it. I don't get it. There's a lot of people being very successful, and you're proof of it. So, like, what was your secret sauce on, ramping up where you're closing, give or take, $1 million, $1.5 million a month?
Sure.
You're brand new in the business. You can't go, hey, send me all your deals, because I know exactly what I've been doing. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know this like the back of my hand. I come with a great level of expertise. You couldn't say any of that. Right. So how'd you do it?
A combination of a couple of things. One, brag on my sales manager and the company a little bit. They do have a pretty good training program that I was a part of, call it the end of 2021 until we kicked off. Gave me a really good foundation, and the support that I got just internally before, kicking things off was exceptional. I mean, it was really, really good. On top of that, I had looked around a little bit as far as I really felt confident that I was going to go with a coaching program at some point.
Yeah.
Grew up playing athletics, and I was at a point in my life where I just was making a big transition because of things that happened during COVID. And I said, look, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel here. I want to get into something that I think I'm going to enjoy, but I want somebody who's doing this at a very, very high level to tell me exactly what to do. And so listen to some podcasts, did some outreach to other coaching programs. And I'll be honest, Carl, just listening to you and talking to the folks that are in this coaching program, there's a lot of different things. And if you want to touch on it, I can. That just attracted me to it.
No, I want to know what activity you did
Yeah.
that brought in. So, and I appreciate all the accolades, brother, but what specific activity, what action items did DJ do that was responsible for getting $1.5 million closings first year in the business?
I would say, I mean, I pick up the phone and just made phone calls, and whether that was to agents, I mean, that was the big one. On day one, for example, we do work a lot of work with Keller Williams in the Atlanta market, and there's a particular office where I do a lot of work, and I got the agent roster and just started calling every single agent in the office. I also put together a target list, that Thor's Hammer list on Monday. I was dedicated to that big time. I wasn't perfect at it, but it was that agent outreach where at some point it just started clicking, where folks were saying, all right, I'm going to give this guy a shot. But it would have never happened had I not just picked up the phone to make those initial contacts.
And so so here you're calling these people,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know you, as we say from Jack, right?
Yep.
They don't know you, right? Right? Am I right on that? They don't know who you
Correct.
are?
Yeah. I'm not from here, that nobody knows me.
All right. So they don't know you. You pick up the phone, they start referring you business. How many times did you have to call them on average before they would say that, before you got your first referral from them? Like how many times did they start doing it right away? Did some right away, but most it was like the third or fifth or 23rd time? Like how'd that work out?
Yeah, I would say more often than not, it really wasn't ever the first time. There were a couple maybe that were like, yeah, you know what? Sounds good. I know you guys have a good reputation. Here you go. I'm going to give you a shot. There were others that it was way more as far as the frequency of reaching out to them, probably 5, 6, 7 times by that time. And I'd been able to develop at least a good enough talking relationship with them. They felt like, all right, I'm going to give you a shot. Some of it was, getting coffee, following your guys' plan of, not necessarily just asking for business the first time, but getting to know them, making that connection. And then eventually it led to, them referring business. And then once I was in the transaction, I do a pretty good job of over communicating based on your guys' structure. And then, the listing agent too was somebody on any transaction I was working on. I was targeting them big time and just communicating them to the nth degree, and won a lot of business that way as well.
Good for you, brother. So what I heard you say was like 5, 6, 7th time that you called them. And just as an FYI, that's uncanny. My number is 5.7. So my average number of calling before I get my first referral from them is the 5.7th time. In other words, somewhere between the 5th and 6th time.
Yeah.
So it sounds like yours is probably, it's amazing on how that number is super consistent. Whether you're, whether you've been doing this for 23 years like I have, or you're brand spanking new like you, it's interesting that number is the same. So, all right. So here you are, brand new loan officer. They don't know you. Frankly, you don't know what you're doing. Let's just be honest, right? I'm just, I don't care how great the training is. First, it takes 2 years to learn where the pencil sharpener is, for it does. There's a lot to learn in this business.
Without a doubt. Until you get into knee deep into a transaction, there's just, it's probably the only way to learn.
Yeah. So here you are, brand new. They don't know you, and they're starting to refer to you. What was your primary, hook, storyline? Like you call them up. Why are they they don't know who you are. You're brand new. Why are they testing you? Like, what's your hook? What's the ask on your part to make it happen most of the time?
Yeah, I think they can all appreciate that you're going to keep them updated and communicate with them. And there's really I'm not going to, I take that responsibility very seriously. And I think that message gets communicated whenever I'm talking to them. And by the time they get a couple weeks into the deal, they can feel it. I am updating them every possible opportunity I get. Now, the Tuesdays, obviously, I'm going to make that update. But any other opportunity I can take to call that agent that's involved with the deal, I'm going to take it, even if it's on a Thursday, Friday, or the weekend, just to give them, to set that expectation, or I guess live up to that expectation that I set at the beginning. So I would say, especially at some point, they're going to get used to you in the 5th, 6th transaction. I'm not going to drop the ball in communication, but those first couple, I'm going to knock it out of the park with my level of communication, to the point where they say, well, I mean, nobody else is giving me this level of, touches during out the point of the transaction, or I guess the timeline of the transaction.
Yeah. So what you got going for, so as we're recording this, we're in the middle of March for 2023. So we're approaching your 1 year anniversary of getting in the business. What you got? What's your volume looking to close in March?
So March, yeah, it'll be my biggest month, hopefully. I right now I've got 4.3 million on track for March that's under contract. $1 million of that's already closed, and I've got 2 more tomorrow. And so the other ones are looking pretty good. So we're tracking for 4.3 right now.
All right. So, and just to put numbers behind this, and on this podcast, we never talk about basis points or payout, because, it depends on, if you're newer, or if you have help or don't have help, or a marketing budget, there's too many parameters around. So we don't really talk about BIS. But if we just pick a standard 100 basis points, which somebody brand new might be less, as they're bringing you up. But if we just pick a standard 100 basis points, and some more, some less, whatever, dude, that would be like $42,000 of income for the month. So can I ask you what line of work you in before you became a loan officer? By the way, I don't know that. What were you doing?
So we owned a couple. I was a business owner. Owned a couple different businesses. One was a restaurant that unfortunately just didn't fare too well during COVID. So that's what prompted us to go ahead and adjust. But I will say, even during the business ownership phase, $43,000 was not something I was used to, because we were fairly new business owners too.
Yeah. I've heard, there's an old saying, every 43,000 helps.
It sure does.
So,
yeah.
Dude, that just warms my heart, man. That's an outstanding story. So here you are. Again, you're not going to be 1 full year in the business. And again, just quoting the 100 basis points thing, you got a $42,000 a month coming, $43,000 a month coming. So that's remarkable. What's been responsible for anything different? Like, so here you have in March, is it just an accumulation of making those phone calls, or is there anything you've added to it, or any special secret weapon kind of thing?
No, I mean, I would say it is accumulation of the phone calls. There's been some new stuff that I've added in, database marketing that I wasn't doing before. I started with the Freedom Club in January, or actually December, but, January is really when it started ramping up. And just way more consistency. I had a big month in July of last year, and 3.7 in that month. And if you look at my trend of deal volume, it really fell off in September, October, November, December. And I think part of that was obviously the market. It was down a little bit then, but my activity in July and August, 2 bigger months last year, definitely fell off as far as consistency was concerned with the tasks that I do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. When I finally went ahead and did the one-on-one coaching, that's when I noticed that it was just my consistency without outreach was so much more dialed in. And I think that's really the biggest thing, is that there wasn't a week where I was letting up. Were there particular days in there that weren't exactly what I wanted? Sure. But overall, week to week, my consistency has just been so much better this year than it was last. And I think ultimately that's what's helping, create the month that I'm in now. Yeah.
So when you call these agents and they start referring to you, like, is there like, why are they using you when you're brand new? They don't know who you are. Is it just is it just back to the consistency? Like, are you offering to do anything for them, or is there like?
No, nothing at all. I mean, all I commit to is promising that their referral is going to have an excellent experience. And they do, and they tell their agents that. And I think the agent feels it too, because of my outreach to them. And so outside of that, no, it's nothing special. I mean, it just gets back to customer service, I think. And at the end of the day, our job is to, help them feel comfortable throughout the entire process. Are there going to be those moments where there's stress and pressure and things don't go perfectly? Sure. But I think if you can find a way to deliver that message to people and then hold their hand as much as you can throughout the process, that, ultimately it's going to be a great experience for them and the agent. And that's what I try to focus on.
Well, that's just a real simple message, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So you're calling them 5, 6, 7 times before you get their first referral. What do you say to the loan officer who, by the way, didn't make $43,000 in March? What would you say to the loan officer says, well, I don't want to beg for business because you're calling 5, 6, 7 times. I don't want to beg for business. What do you say to that person?
Yeah, it was definitely, I think I had to shift my mindset a little bit too, because I think there's that natural tendency where you start to feel like, I'm being annoying, or I don't want to keep bothering them, or I don't want to feel like you said, begging for business. And I don't think that I have come to the conclusion mentally that that's just not the case. And that we truly, especially, the things I'm talking about, I do feel like I offer something different than what other loan officers do. Now, are there other loan officers doing what I'm doing, providing that level of service? Yes. But I think, based on your experience, Carl, you would probably say that the vast majority are not. And so my feeling now is when I'm reaching out to these the agents, it's that I'm here to help you. I'm here to ultimately make your clients feel like this process is just, easy or comfortable or whatever the adjective you want to, put in there. And ultimately going to lead to more business for us all as a result of that. And further down the road through referrals from them and friends, families that they may know that are ultimately going to buy.
Wow. So what, so here you are in your first year and dude, just really having great success. And really, it sounds like just a very simple way of doing things, not a lot of moving parts. Have there been any roadblocks to get in your way? Like what things that, like, I don't know, they just speed bumps or things that that got in the way that you had to get rid of, or anything like that at all?
Oh man, that's a good question. To be honest, I haven't really thought about it. I would say, the biggest, especially for somebody new, is the lack of consistency on a week to week basis of your deal volume, especially when you're starting out. I mean, even for me, this first year, I've had big months, and then it kind of goes in waves. And so I think one of the biggest hurdles for anybody new getting in is to develop that level of consistency where you kind of feel like, okay, I know what's coming in and I'm confident of what the future holds. This market, not to make excuses, it certainly hasn't helped with that, just because it's been, so volatile and moving up and down with the interest rate. But I think that's probably been the biggest hurdle for me is being able to just submit and stay calm and say, listen, at the end of the day, things are going to be okay. I'm confident in my ability. I'm confident in my level of service. And ultimately, if I do these little things, get married to the process, right? The results are going to follow eventually if I do those daily tasks that are necessary in order to create that consistency.
How do you get credibility? So here you are, you get somebody like myself. I mean, I got thousands, probably at this point, literally tens of thousands of closed loans. So I've got some credibility just because of time. Man, you don't have that, because you're just getting started. How did you transfer credibility to these people?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously anybody brand new to the business is going to battle the credibility from the standpoint of how many loans have I done? And the answer is always going to be very similar for almost anybody starting out, 0. And eventually start to build that experience, but that's going to take time. And I think where you have to establish credibility is, again, you go back to customer service. How am I going to make your client feel? Am I going to know the answer to every single question? No. Am I going to know where to go find that answer? Absolutely. And can you count on me to make sure that your client gets that answer as quickly as they possibly can? Absolutely. So I think from a credibility standpoint, you just have to keep reinforcing that, listen, I don't know the answers to everything. I don't pretend to know the answers to everything, but what I do know the answer to is that I promise you that my level of communication and the way your client's going to feel after this is over, you're going to be very happy with, allowing me to serve your customer. And so that's where I think you have to build your credibility, is not your knowledge of the loan, That's going to come, but your ability to just, be a nice person and treat that person with respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think a big mistake I see a lot of new loan officers, and it's not their fault, because I think sometimes low producing loan officers tell them this, is, man, you need to know everything about the loans. And boy, if you have any spare time, make sure you're reading all the, the loan programs and the underwriting stipulations, which is all important stuff. I'm not saying it's not, but I think, waiting for that perfection, wait until, quote, I know enough, which there is no enough, right?
Right.
That I think waiting on that is a big mistake. And, it's the, what you've done is what I call risk looking stupid, right? Risk looking stupid. Not that, brother, I don't mean any way, shape or form that you look stupid at all. Frankly, you look brilliant to me, that you're sitting here with a 4.2 million March coming along. That puts you in a very elite group already, and you're just in your 11th month. I mean, that's impressive. What would you say, like, what's the unique skill that you have that sets you apart?
I mean, I'm very comfortable communicating. I mean, and I have no issue getting on the phone with somebody and building some rapport. I'm a little bit of a chameleon too. If somebody, I tend to interpret pretty quickly their temperament and how much they actually want to communicate. If somebody wants to stay on the phone with me for 10 minutes and chew the fat about what happened over the weekend, I'll do that. If I've got somebody that wants to get on and off the phone relatively quickly, I can recognize that without sitting there and getting long-winded with them. So I think I just evaluate, how that person wants to interact with me. And then I base my interaction off, that interpretation. So I think that's probably one of my better qualities. And as a result, I think overall people just enjoy the experience once they're done with it, because I tend to cater myself to how they want to be treated.
Hey, so if you could take one class to learn any one thing, what would it be for you at this point?
Man, it's a really good question, because I'm way into that these days too. Can I be honest with you here? This is gonna be a random.
Oh man, lie to us. Lie to us. Lie to us.
That's always a good way to preface something, isn't it? So part of my journey over the last couple of years is very spiritual, in that I just did not have a huge upbringing with any sort of organized religion, and I don't even pretend to be in organized religion now, but I have come to learn a lot about the Christian faith, and Jesus is a pretty interesting person to me, and I think if I had to take a class right now, it would be to learn the history and just dive into more what was going on in that time when he was alive, he was here with us, and that would be something that I want to take now. And it's such a big part of who I am now, and it's one of the things I get the most passionate about learning. And so that'd be the one thing I'd want to take a class on right now.
Love that answer, brother. Yeah, there's something to be said about grace, and there's something to be said.
I think regardless of what where you fall on that spectrum, I think the foundation that it's created for me, and I'm not saying it's for everybody, but the foundation that's created for me has allowed me to cope with a lot that's been going on, and I think is led a big part of the success that I've had. Is it just creates a calm and a weight off your shoulders that I couldn't describe other than just kind of diving in and learning about it. So
good for you, man. Hey, what's one thing? It's like, man, Carl, if it wasn't for this one thing, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Like, what's that for you?
I mean, I'm gonna say my wife. We've been together now for 8 years, and when things got really bad a couple of years ago, we were both in the businesses together. And when I say bad, Carl, it was kind of the lowest I've ever been. And some pretty terrible thoughts that were going through my head at that time. And luckily, I'm way past that these days. And but she was such a rock for me during that time, and I got to kind of see what unconditional love looks like, from somebody besides your mom and dad. And so she's a very important person to me, and has been so instrumental and supportive in me making a leap into this new role, and has just cheered me on every bit of the way as I've kind of hit the different, successful milestones that I have. So I would say the one thing, that's been, she's just been a rock for me. And so, yeah, that'd be it.
Dude, good stuff, man. Hey, what's one problem you're trying to solve right now?
Oh man, I want to get more appointments with agents. I've plateaued a little bit, I feel like, and so I've got a decent set of, call it the Focus 40 that I'm starting to build, but I want to get to a point where I'm just getting a little bit better at setting those appointments with the agents. I think that's of kind of the daily success plan that is part of this. That's the one area where I just want to start getting dialed in a little bit more.
Yeah. I like that. So what's next, man?
4.5 million.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask that. Okay, I like that. Let's take it a little further. The loan officer that's closing 8 million this month, what do you think they're doing different than you that's closing? Because we know what you're doing different than the one closing 0 to 1 million. They're not picking up the phone, right? They're waiting until, quote, the market changes, like, and those are the 40% that's not going to renew their license, right?
Yep.
But so going from 4.2 to 8, what do you think is different?
So one of the things we're working on right now is getting a team together. That's probably the next step is building that structure in order to, some of those tasks that just become necessary or that you just get caught up in whenever you're doing volume. I mean, it's just, it's part of our job. And obviously you want those loans that are, you got a bird in hand, you want to make sure that thing gets to the closing table. So it's structuring it in a way that you can still focus on those activities that got you to the 4.3, while you're in the middle of the 4.3. And so that's what's next is being able to figure out how to appropriately set that up so that ultimately you can bring more in and get to those larger numbers that you just mentioned. So
don't stop doing what got you there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that, brother, that is, you're a really smart guy, man. That's exactly what it is. It's people start closing a few loans and they get busy closing those loans. And they I don't know, forget, but they ignore making their prospecting phone calls and time blocking our time. So the first 2 hours a day, we're time blocked, making those calls, whether I got 1 loan, 0 loans, or 40 loans.
Yep.
Never, ever stop making our prospecting phone calls from 9 to 11.
That's right.
The kind of success you're having is frankly, it's what we expect, right? It's like, if you do the activity, gosh, it's what happens. Like, it's just the way that it works.
It is that simple. It really is. I mean, it's just focusing, and when you start to pile those weeks on weeks on weeks, you really start to see that snowball start to, pick up momentum for sure.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll tell you, brother, and I know firsthand, going from 4.2 million to, I would say, like 8 million, or maybe even 10, it can happen really, really, really fast. Going from 0 to 4 is hard. Frankly, going from 0 to even 1 is really, really hard. Going from 1 to 4 and then 4 to, say, 8 or 10, it can happen really fast. Like, it really can. It's just don't stop doing the daily success plan. Like, don't stop doing the things that got you to where you are. Yeah. And that's the challenge, So you're putting a team together. I know we're running a little short on time here. What's the first position you're going to hire? Like, the first person you're going to get to help you out, what is that person going to do?
I heard a podcast a couple of weeks ago with Steve, and you guys were talking about the pre-approval specialist and the contract specialist. And I think, for me, somebody that can deliver that service on the front end, Because the way our structure is within our company, we do get a lot of support on the back end. So, so having that person, help with the front end stuff is definitely, I think, probably the first one that I'd like to go after.
Yeah, and answering your phone, take that initial phone call. So
yeah, just help, man, and be able to, again, like somebody just warm and inviting, and somebody that's just going to make that customer feel special as well.
Yeah. I start the ball rolling if when you're not available. So I like that, man. That's exactly what I would do too. Well, brother, is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have?
Oh man, no, not that I can think of, Carl.
Think we covered it?
I think so.
Yeah. You going to a Freedom Club meeting in Asheville here in North Carolina coming up?
When is that one?
That's in July. Actually, it's on my birthday. It's yeah, I think it's the second week of July.
Okay. I think we got we'll have some time in there for sure.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place, man. I'd love for you to share your story while we're there to see what the what the next 3-4 months are going to look like.
Yeah, would love that.
Good for you, brother. Well, man, I think you painted out a great picture. The main things I got out of this is don't be afraid, or be afraid and do it anyway. Be afraid.
Right.
No, I'm gonna say don't be afraid. You can't tell somebody not to be afraid.
Right. It's gonna be there.
Yeah, it's gonna be there, but do it anyway. Even do it.
Exactly.
Do it. Yeah, you're not going to get eaten by a bear. Do it anyway, and do whatever you need to do so you can be consistent. It's kind of what the main thing I'm getting out of you.
Absolutely.
It's just the consistency of it. So, dude, good for you, man. Hey, brother, my hat's off to you. Thanks so much for coming on to the podcast today. And brother, you're on an epic journey, and it's just an honor to be a part of it. And I'm loving watching what you're doing. So I think that's it. So thanks for being here, brother.
Well, thanks, Carl. I appreciate what all you do for us as well. Thank you.
All right, great stuff, DJ, and thanks for being such a great inspiration and sharing your story with us and the solutions. Thanks for sharing the solutions. Hey, if you're listening to this today and you'd like to see this daily success plan that DJ is talking about, and how do we get referrals from real estate agents? How do we meet with them? What are the scripts we use? What does that first 2 hours of prospecting? We'll walk you through that plan step by step of exactly what to do, and not charge a dime to do it. We'll give you a demonstration of one of our coaching calls by, I don't know, giving you one. It's the old saying, if you want to demonstrate that you can help somebody, I don't know, actually help them, right? It's just common sense. So if you go to freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com, DEMO, freedomclubdemo.com, it'll take you to a page, ask you a couple of questions so we can prepare for the call. And then it'll schedule you a 45-minute, you'll pick a time and date, a little calendar pop up after you answer a couple of questions so we can prepare for the call. You pick a time and date that works best for you, and we'll give you a demonstration of exactly what one of the coaching call works like, which be the exact same thing that DJ did. And man, we'd love to hear your success story like DJ's and help inspire yet even more people. That's how all this works. So freedomclubdemo.com. So that's it. All right. So thanks so much. We appreciate it. And you got a loan officer that you think would benefit from hearing this inspiration, man, we sure appreciate you forwarding it to them. And as always, thanks for all the great reviews. We have hundreds and hundreds of reviews, and I appreciate each and every one of them. freedomclubdemo.com. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you when you call in. And we'll see you on the next episode of Loan Officer Freedom. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye. Talk to you in a little bit.